We want to welcome Nicole and Catherine to our first Girls Who Code speaker event.
We actually met Nicole and Catherine last summer in a data science camp, and we were blown away by their story and what they do, and we really thought you guys would like to hear from them.
We really wanted to bring them on here to give everyone sort of a sense of like how coding applies in the field and like what their jobs are and sort of how they got there. I know Allie and I learned a bunch about it this summer, but for people that are new to it, like just sort of intro AI and data a little bit. Talk us through like your day-to-day. What does a day in the life sort of look like?
A day in the life, man, oh man.
At Google, we're sitting at kind of the nexus of Google research, and data is really the fuel to the rocket ship, and the rocket ship is AI.
When we think about it, AI, algorithm, it's become such a buzzword where it's almost become sort of inaccessible and sort of lofty and scary, where it's like, whoa, this thing's super complicated. I can't even think about getting involved here. But when you break the mechanics down, it's actually quite accessible. And around it, there's this whole data ecosystem. So there's all this work that needs to be done. At any given time, my team is doing that end-to-end data platform work. Everything from, hey, what are we building? How do we build this? What type of data do we need?
Data acquisition, data compliance, data privacy.
How do we make sense of this data? And then how do we test our models to see how good they are?
You're trying to link all these different important pieces of the puzzle in a smooth, efficient way.
You can think of it as like teaching a computer to make decisions that humans would. When you're at school and you're reading a textbook, you're like picking up things around you. You're taking in info from your classmates, some of which is crummy, some of which is good. Like you're learning facts from your teacher, and like you're trying to understand these concepts and you're sifting through that, making sense of it. And then like that's kind of how AI learns. It's literally aggregating data from the world around us. So the way you all are learning is how we're trying to make computers learn.
I was wondering if you could talk about the hardships you may have felt being a woman in your field, and whether you felt feelings of imposter syndrome and how you may have overcome them.
As a woman in the field, a little bit more context. When I say I grew up playing sports, I mentioned, I primarily played on boys teams or in all boys leagues, bringing a girls team to that league. And that feeling of being uncomfortable, I learned at a young age to use it as fuel. And I think that is what I tried to do in the tech industry as a whole.
It's interesting because Catherine grew up playing soccer. I grew up playing chess competitively, which is also, 93% boys or men. And so I think that plus finance sort of desensitized what it means to sort of be one of the few women in a field. There is a huge gap in tech where we need more women. And so I'm hugely passionate about sort of widening the funnel.
In terms of the imposter syndrome, this was a huge thing for me after the acquisition. What helped me get through was knowing that I did have strong support systems and kind of reminding each other we were there for a reason and we're good at what they brought us in to do.
Having the people around you that are supportive, and I always say good things to good people, leading with decency. Having folks to lean on. If someone here doesn't have imposter syndrome, I would say you're not pushing yourself hard enough. And I've got a post-it on my desk where it says like make today better, where I genuinely believe that like the goal should just be make today a better day than yesterday and be just a little bit better today than you were yesterday. This notion of like consistently pushing yourself and acknowledging that like losses are good, losses mean that you're learning is core to actually achieving something. Similar chess and soccer, we lost a lot and we learned how to lose and embrace loss. And I think that helped me with embracing imposter syndrome and realizing that if I felt comfortable with my job or like felt like it was a breeze, then like that would be a huge signal that I was not pushing myself hard enough. And so I would posit that anyone who's doing anything worthy feels imposter syndrome. And if they don't, should take a step back and say, where am I just slacking off on? Maybe there are some people that are just wildly confident. I don't know, but I tend to think most of us have it. And I think it's a good thing and we should all embrace that.
So how has your work been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, given the amount of research and collaboration that you're doing?
This idea that like we are each other's support system at work specifically. And if something was going on, we can always go to somebody on the team. And I think during a time like a pandemic and what we've all been going through right now, that's super important to know that you have that support. Being patient and just having empathy, just like everybody is human, right? And the person behind the document or behind the camera, like they're real. So just like reminding yourself of that on a daily basis, it has been important and helpful, I guess, for me.
I think Catherine put it perfectly. We always say lead with decency. Like, even when it's so hard, just do the right thing. It always pays off in the end. And everyone's dealing with the pandemic. It's a global pandemic. And so empathy, lead with decency, and partnerships are everything.
Does anyone have any final closing thoughts?
So like you're here on a Friday afternoon. Means Google gave you like time off to do this, maybe? No?
Yeah, so